The sky above Seoul turned dark at noon, not from clouds or storms, but from ships. Massive alien vessels hung in the atmosphere like giant metal cities, blocking out the sun. People stopped in the streets and stared upward. Fear gripped every heart on Earth. Commander Taewon stood in the underground command center in Geneva, watching the monitors. He was 52 years old, with gray streaks in his black hair and tired eyes that had seen too many conflicts. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. 300 alien warships surrounded Earth like predators circling wounded prey. The main screen flickered. An alien face appeared. Its skin was pale blue, eyes like black glass, mouth filled with sharp teeth. When it spoke, the translation came through clearly. "I am Admiral Krevnash of the Vorlati Empire. Your world has been selected for integration into our domain. You have 72 hours to surrender all military forces and governmental authority. Comply, and your species will be preserved as workers. Resist, and your cities will burn." The screen changed. Images played of other worlds. Beautiful cities reduced to molten glass. Forests turned to ash. Bodies scattered across devastated landscapes. World after world, conquest after conquest. The message was simple and brutal. Obey or die. The transmission ended. Silence filled the command center. Every person present understood what they had just witnessed. Humanity faced extinction or slavery. There was no third option being offered. Taewon looked around the room at Earth's leaders. President Kim sat pale and shaking. General Petrov from Russia had tears in his eyes. Chancellor Weber from Germany stared at nothing, lost in shock. Only a few seemed ready to think clearly. "We need to respond," said Director Sungmin quietly. He was 43, thin and serious, head of Earth's intelligence division. While others panicked, his mind was already working through possibilities. "We have 72 hours. We cannot waste a single minute." "Respond how?" demanded President Kim. "Did you see those ships? Did you see what they did to other worlds? We have nothing that can fight that." A woman's voice cut through the fear. "That's not entirely true." Everyone turned to look at Dr. E. Hana. She was 36, with sharp eyes and hands that never stopped moving. She ran Earth's Quantum Weapons Division, a secret project most governments barely knew existed. "Explain," Taewon said. Hana pulled up data on a side screen. "For the past 18 months, our deep space stations have been watching a fleet moving through nearby systems. We didn't know they were coming here, but we've been studying them. Their ships, their tactics, their patterns." Sungmin nodded, standing beside her. "We know how they operate. The Vorlati Empire has conquered 47 civilizations in 200 years. They use the same strategy every time. Overwhelming force, maximum fear, minimal actual combat. Because everyone surrenders," Hana continued. "They show recordings of destroyed worlds, make threats, and species give up without fighting. They've become lazy, predictable." Taewon leaned forward. "Go on." "Their shields operate on rotating frequencies," Hana explained, bringing up technical diagrams. "We've mapped the pattern. They're powerful, yes, but they follow a set cycle. If we can time weapons to hit during the vulnerable microseconds, we can penetrate them." "If," President Kim said bitterly. "How many weapons would actually hit those microseconds? 1%, 5%? "With conventional weapons, yes," Hana admitted. "But my team has developed something different. Quantum cascade missiles that can phase shift to match their shield frequencies. We've been building them for 3 years, hoping we'd never need them." General Petrov spoke up. "How many of these missiles do we have?" 347, Hana said. "Plus the railguns we've kept hidden in silos, the orbital platforms we told everyone were decommissioned, and the 3 stealth carriers on the dark side of the moon." The room erupted in shocked voices. "Stealth carriers? The moon? Why weren't we informed?" Sungmin held up his hand. "Because if we told everyone, our enemies would know. The Incheon, Busan, and Daegu have been positioned there for 2 years. When the aliens scanned Earth, they only saw our commercial satellites. They have no idea what we're actually capable of." Taewon felt something stirring in his chest. Not hope exactly, but something close. A chance. The thinnest possibility of survival. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we fight, Hana said firmly. We use the 72 hours to position every asset we have. We let them think we're panicking, preparing to surrender. Then, when they least expect it, we hit them with everything. It's suicide, President Kim said. Even if we destroy some ships, they'll retaliate. They'll destroy our cities. They'll destroy our cities anyway, said a new voice from the doorway. Captain Yuna walked into the command center. She was 28, compact and fierce, with short black hair and a scar across her left cheek from a training accident. She commanded the Teguki Devils, Earth's elite fighter squadron. I've read the reports on every world the Vorlathi conquered, Yuna continued. Every single one that surrendered was stripped of resources, population enslaved, military eliminated. Surrender just means dying slowly instead of quickly. At least if we fight, we die free. Taewon looked at the young pilot. He saw in her eyes what he had lost somewhere over the years, absolute certainty. No fear, no doubt, just pure determination. Commander, Sungmin said quietly, I've run every simulation. If we surrender, humanity ends. Slowly, painfully, but completely. If we fight, we might lose. But we also might win. The Vorlathi have never faced a species that fought back with everything. Taewon stood silent for a long moment. Every eye in the room watched him. This was the decision that would define humanity's future. Surrender and live as slaves. Fight and probably die. But maybe, just maybe, survive as a free species. He thought of his daughter, Nari, safe in a bunker somewhere. He thought of all the children on Earth, all the lives that depended on this moment. What world did he want them to inherit? One where humanity bowed to tyrants, or one where they stood and fought no matter the cost? We fight, Taewon said. His voice carried absolute authority. We use every hour we have. We position every weapon. We prepare every soldier. And when the time comes, we show these aliens what happens when they threaten humanity. He turned to Hana. Get your weapons ready. All of them, to Sungmin. Feed them false information. Make them think we're surrendering. I want them confident and careless. To Yuna. Prepare your squadron, and every other pilot on Earth. We're going to need everyone. To the assembled leaders. Contact every military base, every scientist, every person who can help. This is not one nation's fight. This is humanity's fight. Yuna saluted sharply. Commander, my pilots are ready. We'll show these aliens that Earth doesn't kneel. As the meeting dispersed and people rushed to their tasks, Taewon stood alone, for a moment, looking at the monitor showing those massive ships in orbit. Somewhere up there, Admiral Krevnash sat thinking Earth was just another easy conquest. He was about to learn a very painful lesson. Humanity might be outgunned. They might be outnumbered. But humans had something the Vorlathi had forgotten in their centuries of easy victories. The absolute refusal to surrender their freedom. The 72-hour countdown began. Earth prepared for war. 60 hours remained when the real work began. Commander Taewon barely slept, coordinating from the war room as humanity mobilized like never before. Every military base on Earth came alive with activity. Soldiers who thought they might never see combat suddenly faced the fight of their lives. Dr. Hana worked in her laboratory deep beneath the Swiss mountains. Her team surrounded her, 12 of the brightest minds on Earth. Young Jiwoo, only 24, worked at a computer station mapping shield frequencies. Veteran engineer Kyung-soo, his hands steady despite being 60 years old, assembled quantum detonators with practiced precision. How many missiles are operational? Hana asked, checking readouts on multiple screens. 298, Jiwoo reported. The rest need another 30 hours for the quantum cores to stabilize. We don't have 30 hours, Hana said. We have 48 before we need to deploy. Push the timeline. Cut safety margins if you have to. Kyung-soo looked up sharply. Doctor, if those cores aren't stable, they could detonate during launch. Kill our own people. Hana met his eyes. If we don't have enough weapons, the aliens will kill everyone. We take the risk. Around the lab, her team worked faster. They understood what was at stake. Every missile they completed could mean the difference between survival and extinction. Across the command center, Director Sung-min sat in darkness except for the glow of his screens. His team of intelligence analysts worked in silence, weaving an elaborate deception. Sujin, his best codebreaker, had cracked the Vorlathi communication encryption in 8 hours. Now they could listen to every transmission between the alien ships. Better yet, they could send false data. What are they saying? Sung-min asked. Sujin pulled up translated text. The crews are bored. They're gambling on how long before Earth surrenders. Most bets are on 48 hours. They think we'll panic early. Good, let's encourage that belief. Sung-min typed commands. Inject data showing our military forces standing down. Show satellite images of people evacuating cities. Make it look like we're preparing to give up. Young analyst Dae-hyun hesitated. Sir, what if they see through it? They won't, Sung-min said confidently. They've conquered 47 worlds using the same playbook. They expect fear and surrender. We're showing them exactly what they expect to see. On the monitors, Vorlathi officers aboard their ships reviewed the false intelligence. They nodded to each other, satisfied. Earth was breaking, just like all the others. High above Earth, hidden behind the moon, the 3 stealth carriers came fully online. The Incheon, Busan, and Daegu had been built in secret over 6 years. Each carried quantum missiles and enough firepower to crack a small moon. Captain Bong-soo commanded the Incheon. He was 49, calm under pressure with 3 decades of military service. His crew had been training in secret for years, never knowing if they would actually see combat. Now that moment had arrived. Status report, Bong-soo ordered. All systems green, his tactical officer reported. Missiles loaded and locked. We have clear firing solutions on 73 enemy vessels. And they still don't see us? No, sir, our stealth systems are holding. The moon's mass blocks their sensors perfectly. Bong-soo allowed himself a small smile. Then we maintain position. When Commander Taewon gives the word, we strike first and we strike hard. Back on Earth, Captain Yuna briefed her pilots in the hangar beneath Tokyo. 50 men and women stood before her, the best fighter pilots humanity had. They wore flight suits marked with the Teguki Devil's insignia, their faces showing determination mixed with fear. Listen up, Yuna said, her voice carrying across the hangar. In 36 hours we launch. Our mission is simple. Survive the initial attack, then tear apart anything that comes through our lines. A young pilot named Jae-won raised his hand. He was 22, eager and talented but inexperienced. Captain, our fighters are smaller than their smallest attack craft. How do we fight something that much bigger? We don't fight fair, Yuna said bluntly. We're faster and more maneuverable. We use that advantage. We hit from unexpected angles, strike weak points, and never stay still long enough to become targets. She pulled up a hologram of a Vorlathi warship. These ships are powerful but slow. Their weapons track on predictable patterns. Watch. She ran a simulation showing a small fighter weaving through weapons fire, getting close to the hull and striking engine ports. They're built for ship-to-ship combat, Yuna continued. They're not designed to swat fighters. We're like wasps attacking a bear. Individually weak, but collectively deadly. Another pilot, Minji, spoke up. She was 26, known for defensive flying. What if they overwhelm us with numbers? Then some of us don't come back, Yuna said simply. I'm not going to lie to you. This is probably a one-way mission for most of us. But if we succeed, Earth survives. If we fail, everyone dies anyway. I'd rather go down fighting. The hangar fell silent. Every pilot understood the truth of those words. They had all volunteered knowing they might not survive. Jae-won straightened. Then let's make sure each shot counts. The other pilots nodded agreement. Fear still showed in their eyes, but now it was mixed with resolve. As preparations continued, human stories played out across the planet. Dr. Hana took a break to record a message for her daughter. 10-year-old Gia was in a bunker in New Zealand, as safe as anyone could be. Hana spoke into the camera, trying to smile. Hi, baby. Mommy has to work for a few more days. Important work. I want you to know that everything I do for you, for your future. Be brave, my sweet girl. And remember that I love you more than anything in the universe. She stopped the recording, wiped her eyes, and went back to work. Captain Yuna visited her younger brother Hyun-woo in an evacuation shelter. He was only 17, scared and trying not to show it. Are you really going to fight them? He asked. Yes, Yuna said. Will you win? She wanted to lie to give him false comfort. But Hyun-woo deserved the truth. I don't know, but I'm going to try with everything I have. Hyunwoo hugged her tightly. Come back, he whispered. I'll do my best, Yuna promised, though she knew the odds. Commander Tae-wan stood alone on a rooftop in Geneva, looking up at the alien ships. They hung there like monuments to humanity's helplessness, but Tae-wan didn't feel helpless anymore. He felt something he hadn't experienced in years, clarity of purpose. His phone buzzed. A message from his daughter Nari. Dad, everyone's scared. But I know you'll protect us. You always do. Tae-wan closed his eyes, the weight of millions of lives pressed on his shoulders. So many people depending on his decisions, so many who would die if he chose wrong. But he had chosen. Earth would fight. And somehow, someway, they would find a way to win. Aboard the Vorlati flagship, Admiral Krevnash reviewed reports. His officers assured him everything proceeded as expected. Earth's military was standing down. Cities were evacuating. Surrender seemed imminent. Shall we prepare landing forces? Asked Sub-Commander Thekler. Not yet, Krevnash said. Let them stew in fear a bit longer. The more frightened they are, the more compliant they become. Sir, some unusual satellite movements have been detected, noted Tactical Officer Velmoth. They appear to be repositioning. Krevnash waved dismissively. Commercial satellites adjusting orbit to avoid our fleet. Standard procedure. Nothing to concern yourself with. Velmoth nodded but looked uncertain. Something about this world felt different, more dangerous, but he kept his concerns to himself. With 12 hours remaining, Commander Tae-wan assembled his command staff. Dr. Hana reported all quantum weapons operational. Director Sung-min confirmed the Vorlati believed Earth was surrendering. Captain Yuna's pilot stood ready. The lunar carriers were in position. This is it, Tae-wan said quietly. In 12 hours we either save humanity or die trying. I want everyone to know. It has been an honor serving with you. Dr. Hana straightened. The honor is ours, Commander. The others nodded agreement. Tae-wan pulled up a communication channel. Send this to the Vorlati flagship. When the alien admiral appeared on screen, Tae-wan kept his face carefully neutral. Admiral Krevnash, Earth's leadership requests a final negotiation. We asked for 6 more hours to finalize surrender terms. Krevnash smiled, showing those sharp teeth. Granted, but not 1 minute more. The transmission ended. And that, Sung-min said quietly, was our final deception. They think we're stalling, trying to negotiate better terms. They won't expect an attack. Tae-wan nodded. All forces move to final positions. We strike in 6 hours. Across Earth, humanity held its breath. In bunkers and shelters, people prayed. In military bases, soldiers checked weapons one last time. In laboratories, scientists made final adjustments. And above them all, 300 Vorlati warships waited, confident in their power, certain of their victory. They had no idea what was coming. The countdown continued. The attack began at 400 hours, not from Earth but from behind the Vorlati fleet. The 3 stealth carriers Incheon, Busan, and Daegu emerged from behind the moon like ghosts appearing from darkness. Their quantum missiles launched in perfect synchronization, 200 glowing streaks cutting through the vacuum of space. Captain Bong-soo watched from the Incheon's bridge as the missiles closed on their targets. Time to impact, 15 seconds. All ships prepare for immediate evasive maneuvers. The missiles crossed the distance in heartbeats. The Vorlati ships hung in their formation, shields active but crews relaxed. They were waiting for Earth's surrender, not expecting an attack from behind. The quantum cascade missiles struck exactly as Dr. Hana had predicted. Their warheads phased through the shield frequencies at the precise microsecond of vulnerability. 50 Vorlati warships exploded simultaneously, brilliant flowers of fire blooming in the darkness of space. On the Vorlati flagship, Admiral Krevnash jerked upright as alarms screamed. Report. We're under attack! Tactical Officer Velmoth shouted, his voice cracking with shock. Multiple impacts from behind our formation. 50 ships destroyed, 20 more damaged. Impossible! There's nothing behind us but empty space. 3 unknown vessels, sir. They were hiding behind the moon. They're launching more missiles. Krevnash felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Fear. All ships, defensive formation. Return fire. But the Vorlati fleet, so perfectly arranged to intimidate Earth, was positioned terribly for actual combat. Ships blocked each other's firing angles. The tight formation that looked impressive became a liability as vessels struggled to turn and face the threat. The second wave of missiles struck. More explosions rippled through the alien fleet. That was when Earth unleashed hell. Commander Taiwan stood in the war room, watching multiple screens showing the battle. All surface batteries fire now. Across Earth's surface, 200 railgun installations emerged from hidden silos. These weren't experimental weapons. They were proven technology, built secretly over a decade and now aimed at the alien ships overhead. The railguns fired, magnetic acceleration hurling metal slugs at incredible speeds. The projectiles crossed from atmosphere to orbit in seconds, punching through space where the alien fleet was already reeling from the lunar attack. Satellites, activate, Taiwan ordered. In orbit, dozens of satellites that the Vorlathi had dismissed as commercial communications equipment suddenly revealed their true purpose. They were quantum disruption platforms, and when they activated, they created gravitational distortions that threw alien ships off course. A Vorlathi cruiser, trying to adjust its position, suddenly found itself pulled sideways by artificial gravity. It collided with another ship, both vessels crumpling from the impact. Director Sung Min activated the final piece of his preparation. Infiltration code execute. Deep in the Vorlathi computer systems, code that Sung Min's team had planted during their communications hack came alive. Targeting computers across the fleet malfunctioned. Some ships locked weapons on their own allies. Others fired randomly into empty space. Chaos spread like a virus through the alien formation. Launch fighters, Taiwan commanded. From bases across Earth, fighter squadrons took to the sky. Leading them was Captain Yuna and her Teguki Devils, 50 fighters rising from beneath Tokyo in a tight formation. Yuna checked her systems as her fighter broke atmosphere. Behind her, young Jaewon kept perfect position. On her other wing, defensive specialist Minji watched for threats. All pilots, listen up, Yuna transmitted. Stay in pairs. Never get separated. Target the damaged ships first. And remember, we're faster than they are. Use it. The fighters hit the edge of the battle zone and immediately engaged. Vorlathi attack craft, larger and more heavily armed, swarmed to meet them. But the human pilots flew like they were born in space, weaving and dodging with impossible precision. Jaewon fired his first shots at a Vorlathi fighter 3 times his size. His missiles tracked true, exploiting the gap Yuna had taught them about. The alien ship exploded. Got one, he shouted. Stay focused. Yuna snapped. There's hundreds more. She was right. Despite the devastating initial attack, the Vorlathi still had over 200 ships operational. They were recovering from shock, forming new battle lines, bringing their massive firepower to bear. Admiral Krevnash gripped his command chair. I want those lunar vessels destroyed immediately and begin orbital bombardment of Earth cities. Sir, targeting systems are malfunctioning. Then fire manually. Burn their cities to ash. Several Vorlathi ships broke formation, angling toward Earth. Their weapons charged, preparing to unleash hell on the planet below. Commander Taiwan saw them coming. Dr. Hana, deploy the EMP mines. In orbit, thousands of small devices that had been released by supposedly disabled satellites suddenly activated. They were electromagnetic pulse mines, and when they detonated in sequence, they created cascading waves of electromagnetic energy. The Vorlathi ships diving toward Earth suddenly went dark. Systems failed. Engines died. Weapons powered down. The massive vessels became dead metal, momentum carrying them forward but control gone. Railguns target those disabled ships, Taiwan ordered coldly. The railguns fired again. Slugs tore through helpless ships, ripping metal and destroying reactors. Explosions bloomed across the sky like deadly fireworks. Captain Yuna and her squadron pressed their attack in the middle of the chaos. She spotted a damaged Vorlathi cruiser trying to limp away from the battle. Devils with me. We're taking that cruiser down. Her squadron dove toward the massive ship. Point defense systems tried to track them, but the fighters moved too fast, too unpredictably. They wove between weapons fire like leaves in a storm. Target the engines, Yuna ordered, lining up her shot. 50 fighters unleashed missiles and gunfire at the cruiser's engine ports. The concentrated attack overwhelmed the ship's defenses. Engines exploded. The cruiser began to spin out of control, but the Vorlathi weren't giving up. Sub-Commander Theklar took control of a battle group and managed to form a proper defensive line. His ships interlocked shields and began systematic counterfire. A human fighter squadron hit that shield wall and disintegrated. 20 pilots died in seconds, sir, they're adapting. One of Taiwan's officers reported. Expected, Taiwan said grimly. They're military professionals. They won't stay shocked forever. He opened a channel to Captain Bongsu. Incheon, Busan, Daegu, close to engagement range. Activate all weapons. The 3 lunar carriers accelerated toward the Vorlati fleet. They were huge vessels, built for war, and they had been saving their most powerful weapons for this moment. Energy beams lanced from the carriers, cutting through space. One beam caught a Vorlati destroyer amidships and sliced it in half. Another beam crippled a cruiser's shield generators, but the Vorlathi's superior numbers began to tell. Hundreds of ships concentrated fire on the Incheon. Even with shields and armor, the carrier couldn't withstand that much punishment. Hull breaches on deck 7 through 12. The Incheon's damage control officer reported. Shield at 30%. Keep firing, Captain Bongsu ordered calmly. Target their command ships. The battle raged across orbital space. Human fighters darted and struck. Railguns fired from Earth's surface. The lunar carriers traded devastating blows with alien capital ships, and through it all, thousands died on both sides. J1's fighter took a glancing hit. His controls went sluggish. I'm damaged, he transmitted. Get clear, Yuna ordered. But 3 Vorlati fighters spotted the wounded craft and dove to finish it. Minji reacted instantly, breaking from formation and intercepting the aliens. Her guns blazed, destroying one pursuer. The other 2 turned on her. Minji, no, Yuna screamed, but Minji had already made her choice. She aimed her damaged fighter at the nearest alien ship and hit her thrusters. The collision destroyed both craft. The 3rd alien fighter, distracted by the explosion, flew straight into J1's missile. J1 made it back to Earth, damaged but alive. Minji's sacrifice had saved him. Admiral Krevnash watched his fleet dying and couldn't comprehend it. How are they doing this? They're primitives. They should have surrendered. Velmoth looked at his admiral with something like pity. Sir, I don't think they know how to surrender. The battle reached a crescendo. The Vorlathi had lost over 100 ships now. Human losses were mounting too. The Busan was destroyed, taking 800 crew with it. Fighter squadrons were down to half strength. Railgun installations were being systematically targeted, but Earth kept fighting. Dr. Hana activated her last surprise. Prometheus Protocol online. Across Earth, every power reactor, every generator, every source of electricity began channeling energy to a single point in the Swiss mountains. The quantum relay Dr. Hana had built drew in power until it blazed like a captured star. Firing, Hana shouted. A beam of pure energy, bright enough to blind, lanced from Earth's surface into space. It crossed the distance to the Vorlati flagship in microseconds and struck Admiral Krevnash's ship dead center. The flagship's shields lasted 3 seconds. Then the beam punched through and hit the ship's reactor core. The explosion was spectacular. The flagship and 30 ships around it vanished in a ball of antimatter fire. The blast wave threw other vessels like toys, crippling dozens more. The explosion that killed Admiral Krevnash created a chain reaction of destruction. When the flagship's antimatter reactor breached, it released energy equivalent to a small star. 7 nearby capital ships were simply vaporized. 30 more suffered catastrophic damage as the blast wave tore through their hulls. Across the Vorlati fleet, surviving crews felt terror for the first time in generations. They had been unstoppable conquerors. Now they were dying, killed by primitives they had expected to surrender without a fight. Acting Commander Velmoth, aboard a secondary command vessel, tried desperately to restore order. All ships reform defensive positions. Concentrate fire on the lunar carriers. But the Vorlati fleet was in chaos. Ships collided, trying to reposition. Communication channels were clogged with damage reports and calls for help. The rigid military doctrine that had served them for centuries crumbled against humanity's unpredictable ferocity. Commander Taiwan saw the enemy's confusion and pressed the advantage without mercy. All railgun batteries continuous fire. Don't give them a second to regroup. From Earth's surface, the railguns thundered. Slug after slug screamed into orbit, punching through alien hulls. Some ships tried to flee. The railguns tracked them and fired, hitting engines and leaving vessels dead in space. Captain Yuna's fighter squadron, now reduced to 12 craft from the original 50, hunted through the orbital battlefield. They targeted damaged ships, finishing what the larger weapons had started. "Devils, target that cruiser on Grid 7, Una ordered, her voice hoarse from constant commands. J1, his fighter still damaged but flyable, dove toward the cruiser. His missile struck the ship's already weakened shield generator. The explosion created a cascade failure that rippled through the vessel's systems. "Hit confirmed," J1 reported. "That cruiser's out of the fight." But the Vorlathi weren't completely broken yet. Sub-Commander Thekler managed to gather 40 ships into a proper formation. These vessels, their shields interlocked, presented a solid wall of defensive firepower. Human fighters approaching. A Vorlathi sensor officer reported. "Destroy them," Theklar ordered coldly. The Vorlathi battle group's weapons tracked toward Una's squadron. Dozens of energy beams converged on the small human fighters. "Scatter!" Una screamed. The Devils broke formation instantly, each pilot diving in a different direction. 3 weren't fast enough. Their fighters were cut in half by alien fire, pilots dying instantly. Una felt rage surge through her grief. 9 fighters left from 50. So many friends gone. But she couldn't mourn now. She had to fight. "Regroup at position Delta," she transmitted. "We need a new approach for that formation." Before they could attack again, the lunar carrier Daegu moved into position. Captain Bongsu, commanding from the Incheon, had seen Theklar's formation and recognized the threat. "Daegu, concentrate all forward batteries on that battle group," Bongsu ordered. "Incheon will support." Both carriers opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams and missiles filled space, hammering against the interlocked shields. The Vorlathi formation held for almost a minute, shields absorbing punishment that would have destroyed individual ships. Then Dr. Hana activated another surprise. Quantum disruptors focus on Grid 7. The orbital satellites created gravitational distortions directly in the path of the Vorlathi formation's shield harmonics. The shields designed to protect against energy and physical weapons couldn't compensate for gravity waves. The interlocked shields collapsed. "Now," Bongsu shouted. The carrier's weapons punched through unprotected hulls. Theklar's flagship took 3 direct hits and exploded. The other ships in his formation scattered, their coordination destroyed. Velmoth watched his fleet dying and felt despair. They had started with 300 ships. Now less than 80 remained combat capable, and those were damaged and scattered. "Recall all forces," he ordered, his voice hollow. "We retreat to the edge of the system." "Sir, the Empire forbids retreat," an officer protested. "The Empire isn't here watching their fleet burn," Velmoth snapped. "We retreat or we die." Commander Taewan saw the alien ships beginning to pull back. Every instinct told him to let them go, to accept the victory. But Director Sungmin's intelligence report scrolled across his screens. If the Vorlathi escaped, they would report back to their empire. More ships would come, better prepared in overwhelming numbers. This wasn't just about winning a battle. It was about making the Vorlathi afraid to ever return. "Pursuit formation," Taewan ordered. "We finish this now." "Sir, our forces are exhausted," one of his officers protested. "We've taken heavy casualties. Should we not accept our victory?" "Victory isn't making them run," Taewan said grimly. "Victory is making sure they never come back." Earth's remaining forces surged forward. The fighters, down to 30 operational craft across all squadrons, streaked after fleeing alien ships. The railguns continued firing, tracking their targets across space. The Incheon and Daegu pushed their damaged engines to maximum, closing on the retreating fleet. Dr. Hana worked frantically in her laboratory, sweat dripping despite the cold. "I need more power for one final shot," she told her team. "One more Prometheus burst." "Doctor, the power grid is at 18%, Jiwoo reported, her voice shaking. "If we drain it further, Earth's cities will go dark." "Then they go dark," Hana said flatly. "We end this threat or nothing else matters." She activated the protocol. Across Earth, lights flickered and died. Hospitals switched to emergency power. Underground bunkers went to backup systems. But the quantum relay in Switzerland began to glow again, drawing in every bit of energy the planet could provide. Velmoth saw the energy reading spike on his sensors. "Evasive maneuvers. All ships scatter. Too late." The beam fired again. Not as powerful as before, but still devastating. It caught 5 fleeing cruisers and burned through them like paper. The ships exploded one after another, a chain of destruction across space. The remaining Vorlathi ships broke in pure panic. Velmoth's orders were ignored as captains acted independently, each trying to save their own vessel. The disciplined fleet that had arrived to conquer Earth had become a mob running for their lives. Captain Yuna pursued a destroyer trying to reach jump distance. Her fighter was nearly out of fuel and ammunition, but she pushed forward anyway. "Captain, we're at minimum reserves," Jaewon warned, flying on her wing. "One more ship," Yuna said through gritted teeth. "Just one more." She lined up her last missile, compensating for her damaged targeting system. The shot had to be perfect. She fired. The missile streaked across space and struck the destroyer's engine core. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash. "Got it," Yuna whispered. Then her fighter's fuel warning began screaming. "All devils return to base. We're done here." The 9 surviving fighters of the Taigaki Devils turned toward Earth, limping home on fumes and prayers. Across the battlefield, the carnage was total. Over 200 Vorlathi ships lay dead in space, their hulls torn open, their crews killed. Dozens more were crippled, drifting helplessly. Only 15 ships remained operational, and those were damaged and fleeing as fast as their engines could push them. Captain Bong Su received authorization from Commander Tae-wan. "Let them go," Tae-wan ordered. "They'll carry our message back to their empire." "Sir, we could destroy them all," Bong Su protested. "No, let them run. Let them tell their leaders what happened here. Let them spread fear through their empire." Bong Su understood. "Yes, Commander." The 15 Vorlathi ships reached jump distance and vanished into faster-than-light travel, running home to report their defeat. Velmoth sat in his command chair, staring at nothing. He had survived. Barely. Out of 300 ships and over 500,000 Vorlathi, only 15,000 remained. The greatest military fleet the Empire had sent in decades had been destroyed by a single planet that was supposed to surrender without a fight. How had this happened? They had overwhelming force, superior technology, centuries of military dominance. But Earth had something the Vorlathi had forgotten existed: the absolute refusal to surrender. Back on Earth, Commander Tae-wan stood in the war room surrounded by exhausted staff. Victory displays showed across the monitors. The alien fleet was gone. Earth had survived, but the cost scrolled endlessly on side screens. Over 300,000 military personnel dead, 200,000 civilians killed in orbital strikes that got through, the carrier Busan destroyed, 40 fighter squadrons wiped out, cities damaged. The power grid would take weeks to restore. Dr. Hana collapsed into a chair, too tired to stand. Her quantum weapons had saved Earth, but 3 of her research stations had been destroyed when experimental systems overloaded. Hundreds of scientists had died, including people she had worked with for years. Captain Yuna landed her fighter and climbed out on shaking legs. Ground crew ran to help her. She looked around at the other survivors. 9 fighters out of 50. Where was Minji? Gone. Where was Dong-hyun? Dead. So many empty spaces where friends had been. Director Sung-min read reports of the damage across Earth. His infiltration code had worked perfectly, crippling alien systems. But he had personally given orders that resulted in thousands of deaths. The weight of those decisions would haunt him forever. Tae-wan activated a broadcast to all of Earth. His face appeared on every. 5 days after the battle, Earth still burned in places. Cities hit by orbital strikes smoldered. Rescue crews worked around the clock, pulling survivors from rubble. The dead numbered 300,000 military and 200,000 civilian. Every person on Earth knew someone who had died. Commander Tae-wan had not slept more than 2 hours at a time since the fighting ended. He stood now in the command center, looking at damage reports that seemed endless. But mixed with the grief was something else: hope. Earth had survived. Humanity remained free. A message came through from the recovery teams in orbit. "Commander, we've secured 15 alien vessels. They're damaged but intact. And sir, we have prisoners." Tae-wan straightened.
"How many?"
"Approximately 30,000 Vorlathi survived on the disabled ships. They're requesting terms of surrender." This was the moment Taiwan had been dreading. What did you do with 30,000 enemy soldiers who had come to enslave your world? Execution would be the easy answer. Also the wrong one. "Bring their senior officers to Geneva," Tae-wan ordered. "We'll conduct proper trials. The rest remain in custody on their ships under guard." 2 days later, Acting Commander Velmoth stood in an underground chamber facing a panel of Earth's leaders. He was bound but unharmed. Around him, human soldiers stood with weapons ready. Velmoth looked at Commander Tae-wan. "Why am I alive?" "Your victory was absolute. You should have killed us all. Because we're not you, Taewon said simply. We don't slaughter prisoners. We don't commit genocide. We fought because you threatened our freedom, not because we enjoy killing. Velmoth studied the human commander. I don't understand your species. You fought with such ferocity, such willingness to sacrifice. We thought you were primitive. But you destroyed the finest fleet the Vorlathi Empire has sent in decades. How? Director Sungmin stepped forward. You want to know how we won? We'll tell you. Then you're going to carry that message back to your empire. Over the next hours, Velmoth and his officers were shown everything. The 18 months of surveillance. The hidden weapons. The quantum technology. The elaborate deception. Every trap that had been set. But more importantly, they were shown Earth's history. Humans fighting each other for thousands of years. Wars that killed millions. Conflicts that devastated continents. And through it all, the species that refused to ever stop fighting. We've been at war with each other for our entire history, Taewon explained. We know how to fight because we've never stopped fighting. When you came expecting easy conquest, you were facing a species that had perfected warfare over millennia. But you were unified, Velmoth said, confused. Your world acted as one. Our intelligence showed you were divided. We are divided, Sungmin said. Hundreds of nations, thousands of languages, countless differences. But when something threatens all of us, we remember we're one species, one planet. We put aside our differences and face the threat together. Dr. Hana entered the chamber, tired but determined. We've been analyzing your technology. Your ships are powerful, your weapons advanced, but your tactics haven't changed in centuries. You've conquered so many worlds without a fight that you forgot how to actually fight. We will learn, Velmoth said quietly. The Empire will hear of this defeat. They will send a larger fleet. Better prepared? Let them come, Taewon said. Because we've learned too. We have your technology now. We know your weaknesses. And we'll be ready? He leaned forward, his voice hard. Tell your empire this. Earth is not a world to be conquered. We are not a species that surrenders. If they come again, we will destroy them again. Only next time we won't be surprised. 3 weeks after the battle, Captain Yuna stood at a memorial ceremony in Seoul. Behind her rose a massive black stone wall, curved like an embrace. On it were carved 500,000 names. Every person who died defending Earth. She found Minji's name and touched it gently. You saved Jaewon. You saved all of us. Thank you, my friend. Around her, thousands of people stood in silence, families of the fallen, survivors who bore scars physical and mental, and one person who caught Yuna's attention, her younger brother Hyunwoo, now wearing a military academy uniform. You joined? Yuna asked, surprised. Someone has to protect Earth, Hyunwoo said firmly. You showed me that. Minji showed me that. If the aliens come back, we need to be ready. Yuna felt pride and fear mixed together, her little brother following her path. Then I'll teach you everything I know. Dr. Hana worked in a new laboratory, this one built with help from scientists around the world. Her daughter, Jia, played nearby, safe now that the immediate danger had passed. Her team was analyzing the captured Vorlathi ships, reverse engineering technology that would leap humanity's development forward by decades. But Hana remained careful. Technology was just tools. It was how you used them that mattered. Doctor, look at this, Jiwoo said excitedly, pulling up data on a screen. They're faster than light drives. We can replicate this. Earth could have real starships within 5 years. Hana looked at the data, her mind already working through possibilities. Humanity could reach the stars. Could explore the galaxy. But would they go as conquerors or explorers? We build the ships, Hana said quietly. But we remember why we fought. We don't become what we defeated. Director Sungmin sat in a secure room reading intelligence that made his blood run cold. The Vorlathi Empire's database, recovered from captured ships, contained information about the galaxy. The Empire controlled over 3,000 worlds. They had military forces numbering in the billions. Earth had defeated one fleet, but it was a tiny fraction of the Empire's total power. If the Vorlathi decided to commit fully to conquering Earth, no amount of courage could stop them. But the database also contained other information. The Empire had enemies, other civilizations, some powerful, that watched the Vorlathi expand. And there were worlds under Vorlathi control that hated their conquerors, waiting for any chance to rebel. Sungmin realized Earth had an opportunity, not to fight alone, but to build alliances, To turn the galaxy against the Vorlothi Empire, he brought this information to Commander Taewan. Taewan read the reports and understood immediately. We need to contact these other civilizations. Build relationships before the Vorlothi return. Exactly, Sungmin agreed. But we have to be careful. Some may see us as threatening. Others may try to use us. We're entering a galactic community we don't understand. Then we learn, Taewan said, quickly. 4 months after the battle, Earth broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. It took weeks to prepare, translating into every language in the Vorlothi database. The message went out on every frequency, carried by automated probes launched toward known civilizations. Commander Taewan's face appeared on screens across 1,000 worlds. This is Commander Taewan of Earth. 4 months ago, the Vorlothi Empire sent 300 warships to conquer our world. They expected us to surrender. They got total devastation instead. Only 15 ships escaped. Images played showing the battle. Alien ships exploding. Human fighters attacking with impossible courage. The final orbital bombardment that killed the Vorlothi flagship. We are humanity, Taewan continued. A young species new to galactic affairs. We seek peace, but we will not surrender our freedom to anyone. To the Vorlothi Empire, do not return to Earth. You will find only death. But this message is not just a warning. It is an offer. To every world suffering under Vorlothi occupation, you are not alone. Resistance is possible. We will share our technology and tactical knowledge with any civilization willing to fight for their freedom. To the other powers of the galaxy, Earth wishes to establish diplomatic relations. We seek allies, not subjects, trade, not conquest, but we will defend ourselves and our friends with everything we have. The galaxy is vast. Room enough for all of us to exist freely. But if anyone comes to enslave or conquer us, they will learn what the Vorlothi learned. Humanity does not bow. The message ended with an image of Earth, blue and beautiful, scarred but surviving. 5 years after the battle, Earth orbit looked completely different. Massive shipyards hung in space, building humanity's first true deep space fleet. The ships being constructed weren't for conquest but for defense and exploration. The first ship to be completed was the USS Taeguki, named in honor of Captain Yuna's squadron. Admiral Yuna herself, now promoted and bearing the scars of multiple conflicts, stood at the launch ceremony. This ship represents everything we fought for, Yuna said to the assembled crowd. The freedom to reach for the stars, the courage to explore the unknown, the determination to help others find their freedom. The Taeguki's mission wasn't military conquest. It was heading to the Kalathi homeworld, a species under Vorlothi control that had secretly contacted Earth asking for help in their rebellion. Dr. Hana had equipped the ship with quantum weapons and advanced technology. Director Sungmin had trained diplomatic specialists who would help organize the Kalathi resistance. Commander Taewan had planned the entire operation, but it was Yuna who would lead it. As the Taeguki prepared to launch, Yuna thought of all those who had died in Earth's battle. Minji, who sacrificed herself. Donghyun, who never hesitated. The scientists who died making weapons to save humanity. The 500,000 names on the memorial wall.